Can you remind me if you'll be so kind, staring out into space, asking God to hear my case, trying to think of all things past. How long will my memory last? With purple angel, purple angel, purple angel, you're next to me.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to Alzheimer's Speaks Radio. I'm your host and founder of Alzheimer's Speaks, Lori LeBay. For those of you that are new to our show and new to Alzheimer's Speaks, I just want to give you a little background about us. Alzheimer's Speaks is an advocacy-based company providing multiple platforms to shift our dementia care culture from crisis to comfort worldwide. We believe that by joining forces and sharing knowledge, and just having these everyday conversations about dementia, we're going to be able to remove the stigmas attached to memory loss and help people really live well with the disease and continue to live with purpose. And also get people to understand the true needs that people have in terms of dealing with this disease if they're diagnosed or caring for somebody. And at our core, we believe that collaboration is really the only way we're going to win this battle. And so it's my honor to be able to speak to people all around the world, from those who are diagnosed to researchers to families to businesses. And today we're going to be featuring technology, and we're going to have a really, really interesting conversation. So I hope that you will continue to share the show and Alzheimer's Speaks with your family and friends and colleagues like you have with your Twitter groups, your Facebook friends, your Google circles, your LinkedIn colleagues, because that allowed us to become the number one influencer online in the world regarding Alzheimer's, according to ShareCare and Dr. Oz. And again, we didn't do that alone. That's about you sharing information and passing it out there, because this is about the knowledge base that everybody has, not just one of us, but really truly working together. If you think you might be a great guest on the show, please reach out to me. Just go to alzheimersspeaks.com. There's a big contact button up in the header, and you can email me or call me, whatever is your preference there. Or you can also make a comment on the radio show here, and I'd be more than glad to get a hold of you. I am going to shout out to a couple of organizations that not everybody knows about. One is ADI, or Alzheimer's Disease International. They are kind of the go-to place, no matter where you are in the world, to find where an association is that's close to you. They also have great information on global research and studies that are happening. The other that I want to mention is the Purple Angel Project, which is in over 19 countries now in the last 2 years. It's basically a symbol anybody can use, individual or organization, and you just have to read a small poster, and it's all about raising awareness regarding dementia as a whole, getting people to ask, what is that, and moving forward from there. So let me go ahead and introduce our first guest today. Mike Radice is the chairman of the Technology Advisory for ChartaCloud, LLC, and ChartaCares. And Mike has served in an executive board leadership positions in technology services and organizations for more than 40 years, including ComShare, Computer Language Research, Computer Sciences Corporation, Infonet. The list goes on and on. Mike currently leads and constructs ChartaCares, which is a provider of technology that to enable healthcare today and into the future with healthcare services. And they have technologies of 26 companies from around the world. So he's really up to snuff on all this stuff. So welcome, Mike. How are you doing today?
Well, Lori, I'm doing just fine, thank you. And I want to tell you what a privilege it is to be participating in today's program. We're very pleased to do so. Doing well.
Great. Well, we're thrilled to have you. I also have to mention that that Mike is a military vet, and he was awarded the Purple Heart and the Bronze Star. So thank you so much for your service. Really appreciate that.
Service. Yeah.
I also want want to introduce Lauren, who is your managing director at Charter Cloud. And Lauren is the co-founder of both Charter Cloud and Charter Cares. And she's a graduate of the University of Texas and has an advanced degree in public policy from LBJ and a graduate school for public affairs. She's held staff positions at the United States Senate, the House of Representatives for the state of Texas, and the legislative policy there. And she's an active member of the New Hampshire Women in Tech organization. So welcome, Lauren. How are you today?
Thank you, Lori, and thank you for that introduction. It's so nice to be here with you guys, and we're excited for this conversation.
Well, you guys are doing such great work, and we're gonna kick off by going over to Belgium first, and we're going to talk with Tommy, who is the managing director of QBMT. And Tommy is the co-founder and co-CEO of Zora Robotics, which was created together with his partner. And they were childhood friends and huge fans of Star Wars, and especially of the robot R2-D2, which we all know about. And about 7 years ago, while they were having a drink, they decided to take over the world with robots, which I think is just a hoot. And at that time, they kind of thought things were still a fantasy. But 4 years ago, they discovered that they really had something, to bring forth. And so I'm very excited to have this conversation with you today. And Mike, do you want to set this up a little bit?
Of course, as you know, with Charter Cares, we search and travel the world to look for the very best in advances in technology-enabled healthcare. And in particular, we had an eye on the advancements in robotics and how they could be applied in the healthcare arena. And we were fortunate to discover the work that Tommy and Zora Robotics have been doing, particularly in skilled nursing facilities and in the retirement communities, where the robotic platform has been developed by Tommy and Fabrice to create where a humanoid robot, describe that a little bit, the robot is about 2.5 feet high, looks like a human form, arms and legs and hands, and a lovely, endearing face, and speaks 19 languages. And Tommy and his staff have been working diligently and have deployed the robot in some 200 institutions and communities and retirement and skilled nursing homes, where the robot is used to engage with patients, those that are healthy and those that are suffering from cognitive impairment. So if you can imagine, this is not something of the future. This is actively going on, and we're pleased to have the opportunity to have Tommy talk about his experience.
Great. So, Tommy, can you tell us how you found your way into the, kind of the assisted robotic care for seniors? How did that come to you?
Well, first of all, hi from Belgium. Well, actually by accident. When we started with Aldebaran, the constructor of the robot itself, our first idea was to put the robot in hospitality, because that was the market we knew from before. But as we started exploring the robot and what she could do software-wise, we came in contact with the Christian Mutuality, which is the Belgian healthcare assurance company, who said to us, well, isn't there a possibility that you can use that robot to motivate elder people to start moving again, to do rehabilitation exercises? And at first, Fabrice and me, we were like, well, putting a robot with elders, is this really a good idea? But we did it anyway. And what did we see is that elders, they really love that little thing moving around. She's only 57 centimeters high, and she is really appealing to them. For them, it's a little child, and from that moment on, we started deploying software.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Now, you call the robot, or I'm assuming you call the robot Zora. How did you come up with the name Zora?
Well, Zora is an acronym. It's a Dutch acronym. It stands for Zorg, Ouderen, Revalidatie en Animatie, which means care, elders, revalidation, and animation. And the name Zora in our parts of the world is really appealing. And so that name came from one of our customers who said, well, why don't you call her Zora? This would be a good acronym. And so we started with that name, and now it has a nice ring to it.
Okay. And you are actually using Zora in senior care currently, correct?
Yeah. We have daily over 25,000 people working with Zora. We have over 200, more than 200 institutes over Europe having a Zora on daily basis. And we'll manage to have 4 or 5 extra Zoras each week. And we just started in the States together with Mike.
Wow, that's incredible. Can you tell us, what exactly does Zora do? Can you give us some examples for our audience?
Yeah, well, it actually grew. And the first things we did is Zora was showing exercises. Instead of the physiotherapist standing in front of a group of persons and showing which movements they had to do, now you have Zora standing in front of them. And the physiotherapist, he has the time free to actually help the people who are in need of helping the arm doing the extra movement or the extra height it needed. And we saw that at that point, well, it attracts people. Mm-hmm. Because after those exercises, people started asking, well, can I hold her? And they started talking to her. So we said, okay, well, we should create something that is easy for the caretaker to be able to use Zora to talk to elders. So we created a new software. So today, we come in contact with our customers once a month, and we always ask them the same questions. What do you like? What didn't you like? And do you have any new ideas? Mm-hmm. And those new ideas we continuously put into the software so that the software today has more than 40 behaviors, is easily controlled by anybody, and helps people not only with movements, but also in animation against loneliness. Even we have special programs for people with dementia. And those lists is still growing each day.
Okay. And what have you seen or heard from people who are using this are the biggest benefits? And I know that we had talked about maybe Natalie would join you too, who is actually using one of the robots. Was she able to make it today?
Yes, she's here standing next to me. She's a physiotherapist who was one of the first people starting with the Zora. It's an elderly care house called the Barenbreek. And she can talk to you about her experience with the difference between having a robot in front of your group showing movements instead of the physiotherapist. So if you want to talk to her, I can put her on the phone.
That would be great. It would be
okay.
Nice to hear that.
Thank
you.
Hello.
Hi, Natalie. So can you
Hi.
tell us what you see the difference in terms of people interacting with the robot versus a real person?
Yes, because in the beginning my English is not perfect, I'm sorry. In the beginning I stood before my patients, in front of them, and if someone, I have 20 patients, and if someone doesn't do the exercises or can do the exercises like they should do the rehabilitation, then I have to go into the crowds and all the other people stop. And that's a problem. And with the robot Zora in front of those people, I can go individually to my patients. And all the other patients, they do their exercises because Zora shows them how to. And I can individually help my patients. So for me, that's a great advantage.
Wonderful. And people seem to enjoy it. And
yes, they like her. She's cute. That's that's the thing that they say all the time. The Dutch word for it is schattig. So in English, that's cute. She's like a child, and she looks sweet. She doesn't have. As a physiotherapist, I sometimes have to be strict because they have to do the exercises like they should do. And with Zora, it's animation also, but they are doing the exercises, and that's the main advantage from Zora.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for sharing that. Tommy, if I can ask you a question again as well. And that question would be, what is the most important thing you've learned through the Zora experience?
Well, from what Zora is actually helping the people is overall, it is helping augmenting the quality of life.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that's a big feedback we get from the market. The elderly care houses say, well, we tend to know our persons a little bit more because sometimes a caretaker is not always the correct person to have a talk with the people, with elders. We see a lot that elders are afraid to tell their stories to them because they're afraid to have extra pills or to go to a hospital. And whenever Zora comes by, it's a little child and they tend to tell the whole story to them. So if a caretaker can use that tool to be able to know their patients or their I don't know the English word for it, but the people living in the institutes better in that way, well, they can help them more.
Mm-hmm.
But what we see also is through Zora, more children come back to an elderly care house. I don't know how it is in the United States, but in Europe, the last years we saw that children don't like to go to elderly care houses anymore, with all the stigmas that around surrounding that. And now we see, because Zora is there, they love the robot, they want to see the robot moving, they go back to the elderly care house, and that's also a big trigger for the elders.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Wonderful.
Yes, Laurie, our direct experience with Zora, I'll relate a couple of stories. We had one situation where we had a senior who, quite frankly, hadn't interacted verbally with the staff for almost 2 years, had lived in silence. And in an interaction with Zora, this patient all of a sudden became animated and engaged and started chattering away with Zora, to the amazement of the caregiving staff. So the other experience that Tommy relates to is when grandchildren and others, are sought out to visit with grandma or granddad. It becomes they all gather up and look at the hour pass. At the engagement of family members become much more animated, where all of a sudden grandchildren and so forth say, "Oh yeah, I'd like to go there. Is Zora going to be there?" And they all can interact around the robot in a much more animated fashion. And of course, at the end of the day, our largest problem is when our time with Zora and the seniors are over. The seniors don't want Zora to go. They're like, well, you can go, but leave Zora because we want to talk more with Zora. And this is an amazing thing to experience.
Well, wonderful. This is exciting, Tommy. I know you've got a really tight schedule, and I want to be respectful of that. Is there anything else that you'd like to tell us about Zora before you need to scoot?
Well, for the people who are skeptic about putting a robot into elderly care, please feel free to ask for a demonstration. That's something we've seen a lot in Europe. When we talk about a robot, people tend to fantasize, well, this is not good, it's not ethical, and stuff like that. But from the moment they see what a tiny little robot can do for elders and the way it interacts with them, even if it's your grandmother or your mother or your father or whatever, or the caretaker itself, he sees what it actually can do. They rapidly change from a critic into a fan. So take an appointment, make it, ask for a demonstration, and I'm sure that Mike is happy to do those kind of demonstrations, and you will see what it's all about, because you have to see how elders react to the robot. That's the only way that you will become a huge fan of those of putting robots into elder care.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you, Tommy and Natalie, so much for your time today. Really, really appreciate it very much. So,
yes, Lori, I'd like to add as well that the robotic system that Tommy and his team have developed is one that, and I'll use a technical term here, excuse me, can be repurposed. So don't just think of this robot as a group leader. Zora can be repurposed to get into a very customized one-on-one Alzheimer's or dementia engagement therapy where the robot can remember robot will know, Zora will know who they're speaking with, and therefore they can create special music, they can create special stories, and very easy to control from a computer tablet to say, Zora is now going to spend time with Mike, and the interactions can go on by way of music therapy or storytelling that are specific to that patient. So, and that's all very easily done by the caregiver just directly from the tablet. So it's important to understand it.
That's entirely correct. We created a special program with pictures that the caretaker can make themselves of. For instance, if you have a patient who has dementia and one of his children comes by and afterwards he's gone again, we have a special program which enables the caregiver to ask to the patient, well, who came by? Was it your eldest son? Was it your daughter? And show him pictures. And he has to show that picture to Zora. And through the game with Zora, you stimulate long-term memory against short-term memory. So we have a lot of experience in that field.
Wonderful. Well, it's very exciting, and I'll be looking forward to see this as it progresses and creeps across the U.S. here. It sounds like you're just doing magnificent work, and the numbers are really quite impressive, and how many lives you've touched already. So over in Belgium and in other parts of the country. So thank you so much for your work. Appreciate it, Tommy.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Tom Bryan, who is the co-founder and CEO of HealthComms. And Tom comes to us from Ireland, and he has over 20 years of industry experience in application of information technology in finance, healthcare, manufacturing, and software development environments. Tom started his career with the British Columbia Cancer Agency, and he was with Intel for 14 years and was responsible for the organizational redevelopment of both people and infrastructure in support of their manufacturing and computing. Tom holds advanced degrees in health in 2010, he was a co-founder of HealthComms and focused on the development of My Home Reach. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that today. HealthComms is now operating in Europe, Australia, and North America. So welcome, Tom.
Hi, Maureen. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. Can you kind of give us just a brief overview of HealthComms and what exactly is that?
Sure. So HealthComms, we're a software company. We're focused on the software that helps an individual live independently for as long as possible. And essentially, it's a cloud-based system. So that means that wherever you are, your data follows you, and essentially you can use any device to connect to that data. So it can be anything from a smartphone to a smart TV. So a lot of what we do in terms of the functionality within the system, we try to mimic a community environment or a virtual village. So you can think of the old villages or towns that we had the community surrounding, helping individuals that live in that community. So we try to use that paradigm through most of the functionality that we have within the system, and there's quite a bit of functionality there. But I'll give you a flavor of that. So essentially, we bring that virtual village together, right, with My Home Reach, and providing one place to go for the individual in the home, and they can connect to family, carers, informal or formal, as well as access to services and support that is key to living at home, well and secure. So things like a taxi service, a local hairdresser, your banking, online grocery shopping, for some people, and others it's access to religious services, and yet again there's others that have access or want access to the local betting shop, and we have an interesting story around that, in that one of the users every Saturday. The two individuals would go down, the husband and wife would go down to the local betting shop, and they'd pick a horse or whatever and bet on it. And this was, their routine for many, many years. Unfortunately, one of the individuals passed away, and the wife then was I guess restricted in mobility, but also then the company of getting down to the event of betting on the horse was gone for probably about 5 years. When we introduced the My Home Reach to them, or to her, what she did was set up, or at least the company that we worked with, set up the local betting shop on the system for her. And she would say her prayer to John and get his tip, and bet on the horse with John's tip. And that's what brought her out of the shell of isolation. And that was just one little story. But it's very much picture driven. So it's all icons that you use to connect to the family and carers. And we also can build in a safety net. For example, mum wants to connect to the son or daughter, and they're not at home. So what we'll do is we'll waterfall through the connections if they want to, and eventually connect with somebody. So there's always somebody there that will be available to talk to them on any occasion. So if you need to talk to somebody, there's somebody going to be there.
Oh,
we keep family members involved through daily messages. So these are initiated by mum or dad or the individual in the home, and they'll generally cover like a very simple message like I'm feeling great today, or I'm not feeling that well. And of course we trend that over time as well, and we can alert family members and organizations on that response as well.
What kind of response have you gotten from families who participate in this?
It's generally good, right? So all the options we do, Laurie, are opt-in, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so a family member, if they're interested, are interested, right? And generally speaking, most people are. And so, when they get that message from mom, and it can be a case that, mom is in one side of the country and the son or daughter are many, many miles away. And so it's a sense of connectedness and security that they're getting from that interaction.
Okay. Wonderful. Well, that I would think would be really powerful for people to be able to have that kind of interaction. Mike?
Laurie, it's if I might, here again, our experience and why we were so impressed with My Home Reach is, first of all, from a utilization perspective, they've created a system that allows you to touch the screen and generate these actions just with one touch on a very large button, depending on what it is you want to do. And we even can operate My Home Reach from a smart TV here in the U.S. on a big, large screen with good volume and good sound. And you can activate it just as if you were watching the television. Now, from a connectivity viewpoint, we all know the devastation that isolation can have on the quality of life. And I'm always amazed to see the animation that goes on where you can connect with family, you can connect with friends, you can connect with local service or volunteer organizations. And before long, there's a whole network and a whole community that's working in and around cities or towns that bring the elderly together by way of My Home Reach. And at the end of the day, the most important thing is that remote family members, as opposed to the erratic nature of telephone calls or text messages or what have you, the care recipient can simply hit a choice of buttons, either motivated by an alarm that says, tell me how you're feeling, or each day at a certain time to explain their condition. And that, allows both family members and caregivers to be on constant alert as to the life condition of a senior. And as more and more homes become the retirement desire in the future, and as we have more and more elderly, the onus on communities to understand how their elderly citizens are doing takes an awful lot of pressure off of volunteer and first responder organizations. So it really is a joyful thing for them to connect up by way of My Home Reach.
Wonderful. Lauren, do you have anything you'd like to add regarding My Home Reach?
I was just going to jump in and add to Mike's point, too. I'm bringing a more of a millennial perspective here, and as the younger generation, we live, far away from home. In many cases, we take jobs in different states, or our life circumstances take us further, away from our home base. And what's so inspiring to me about My Home Reach is it really is that one central communication portal that's easy to use, very senior friendly. There's not a lot of training required. And it allows family members who may not be geographically located in the same area to really stay connected and take advantage of the technology to ensure their loved ones are getting the care they need, that they're being able to actively monitor, their family members' health and, how they're doing, and also just to have those daily conversations that are so important to combat those feelings of isolation and loneliness, and really allows, families to extend, their home, My Home Reach, all across, wherever they may be.
Yeah, I know when I looked at it, when I had talked with both you, Lauren, and Mike, and we had kind of gone over this on a kind of a video conference, I was really impressed with the look and the ease, and it just looks like it's a fabulous, fabulous tool for people to tap into. And so, kudos, Tom, for your work. I do want to make sure that we've got time for our next party as well. But, Tom, do you have anything else that you want our audience to know about HealthCom or My Home Reach?
Well, I guess the main thing is that so we're working with Charter Cares, rolling out My Home Reach in the U.S. And so far to date, we've had some great reaction to the system, and again, contact Mike, and we can get you going on My Home Reach as soon as possible.
Okay, great. And do you want to just maybe quick highlight for us the top 3 aspects of My Home Reach that people should kind of walk away with and want to pick up that phone to talk to Mike?
Yeah, sure. So the ease of communication, right? So there's a sense of security that you will always have somebody there to reach out to at the touch of a button. Right? So very simple. The second one then is the sense of social inclusion that the system overall can deliver to the individual. So re-enablement and re-entry into a social system is something that's brought about through regular use of the system. We use a lot of the data that is developed or provided through interaction to raise circumstances or alerts on circumstances that are seen over time, and that's a secondary or byproduct of the use of the system, which is very important. And it's like your guardian angel, if you like, looking after those aspects that you're not always aware of.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Tom. And like I said, keep up the good work. We're going to look forward to seeing and hearing more and more about health comms and My Home Reach. So
thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, I want to introduce David Dring, and he is the Executive Director of Self-Help Innovations. And David is located in New York. And in 2016 marks for him his 24th year serving on the Aging Network. And David's career spans programs with the NYC Department for Aging, for the Fund for Aging Services, developmental projects within local, small, and community-based service organizations to national associations and international. So he just has just a wonderful, wonderful background. He's also served as the executive at the National Council on Aging and with Vital Aging, LLC. And he's led the team that created the award-winning benefitscheckup.org innovations. So welcome to the show today, David. We're really looking forward to learning more about, what you and Self-Help Innovations are doing. And Mike, maybe you want to highlight a little bit about. I know you had done a blog called "Loneliness is the Real Killer," and maybe kind of do a tie-in here to the work that David is doing.
Yes, thanks, Lori. Yeah, I'm pleased to do that. I've done an awful lot of investigatory research on the impact of isolation. And you're right. I've written a blog called "Loneliness is a Real Killer," and here again, we're all well versed in the impact of obesity, and alcohol abuse, and air pollution as killers. Well, fact is that isolation is rated above those items. In terms of reducing the quality or shortening longevity, where loneliness has a dramatic impact. So we searched, as they say, we searched high and wide for a combination of isolation reduction technologies and technologies that were amenable to seniors, and identified David's work with self-help. And if I can describe that just a bit, most of us are probably familiar with using some type of video conference link. The uniqueness around self-help is that when you are a participant in self-help, you're able to visually see all the participants in different screens to give a highlighted sense of purpose and engagement. So what we see is groups being formed as a result of accessing self-help. I'll let David describe some of the details, but the animation of watching seniors interact through the self-help program has just, again, been a very rewarding result of seeing their quality of life change. So with that, perhaps, Lori, we'll have David explain some more.
Okay, great, David. The wand has
So
been
this
passed.
has been a great introduction, and I can't agree more with your blog topic that loneliness is a killer. But it's also, one could look at it from a positive perspective, is that relationships are more beneficial than having a healthy diet or regular exercise, interestingly enough. Some leading researchers from North Carolina are suggesting. So the idea of being connected with others is really very important. And we recognize that for those people who are elderly and socially isolated, what would be the way in which we could connect them to programmatic activities? And the thing that we did was use what's called an all-in-one computer, where a computer that has a touchscreen monitor has the computer, the CPU, the webcam, this microphone, the speaker, all in one unit, so it has a very small footprint. When we place it into people's homes, and then Self-Help built its own interface, which we sort of call it being extremely easy to use, with the average age of our participants being 83 and never having used a computer before, really reducing the fear and the anxiety that people have about using a computer. We wanted it to be extremely easy to use. And then we provide, as Mike was describing, interactive discussion-oriented classes that draw the participants out of their homes, essentially, and into a community. The classes range from museum tours, recreational activities, cultural activities, educational programs. We have geriatricians that run classes for us. We have individual volunteers who do things on history programs for us. We have a number of museums. We also have, I'm just trying to think, computer skills training. We offer anywhere from 25 to 35 different classes a week for people to participate, and up to 20 people can be in a class at the same time. And people find particular facilitators that they like and come back and see that facilitator over and over again, and people in the same class will be there together, really building a sense of community and friendship. It's not surprising to us that some of our facilitators, some of our participants have said that it's been really fun to be a part of the program. I was a stranger for a bit, then I became a friend with everybody, and now it really feels like we're all family. And so it's really a warm community that gets developed here inside the Virtual Senior Center. But what's most impressive from our social service perspective is that we have demonstrated through survey research that we've reduced social isolation by our participants by up by 85%. We've also increased people's self-reported health status by 51%, which is a key indicator about their consumption of health resources, which has led us to be working with a number of managed long-term care companies as we sort out what's the best way to use the technology from a health benefit perspective. So we have about, it's almost 300 users in the New York City area, including Chicago and Baltimore and San Diego and some out in Long Island, across the country essentially, that are using the Virtual Senior Center. So we have a wide network of classes that we offer to people, as well as internet resources, games, and we just came out with a new, what we call social game, where people can play cards with each other over a virtual card table while they can see, hear, and talk with each other.
Wow.
So that's a little bit of an overview, and happy to answer more questions.
Oh, that's a very interesting. What kind of response are you getting from people, playing cards and things like that?
Oh, they just think it's wonderful. They love having a chance to chat with their friends, and it's really drawing them out, especially when they can play cards with somebody in San Diego when they're in New York or in Chicago. It really really helps make people understand how small the world is.
Wow. For young kids, that's just kind of their norm. They don't know half the people
Right.
that they're communicating with, but for older people, it's just kind of a new thing. And I would imagine it's got to be kind of exciting for most of them. Do you see families at all getting a little weary of vulnerabilities or what could happen, not knowing somebody in friendships being made, or are you seeing them really pretty proactive in supporting this?
All the families have been very proactive in supporting this. They've really seen transformative changes in their family members.
Mm-hmm.
I was just giving a presentation this morning, and a woman was having to move from one level of care to another and was considering moving into assisted living facility, but she was asking the facility manager whether or not she could bring her computer with her because she didn't want to miss out on any of the classes. And so the facility director was at the presentation with me and just saying, I've never heard of this program before 2 days ago, but I got to tell you, it really makes a big impact on people because of, and then she went in to tell the story. So it's we hear stories of people who want to leave the hospital faster because they're missing out on their classes. We hear stories of how families have seen their older adult become re-energized, have purpose once again in terms of wanting to be a part of the programs. But for many of the participants, they don't have family. And so the virtual senior center really becomes their family because for whatever reason, reaching the older ages of 80s, they've lost their family or their family is too far away from them for them to be able to connect regularly.
Mm-hmm. Lauren, do you have any comments you want to add in terms of this particular technology?
Sorry, are you there?
Yeah, go ahead, Lauren.
The Virtual Senior Center is just an amazing technology to watch, and you really can see it in the eyes of the participants, you know, how engaged they are, you know, the feelings and bonds they form towards the instructor teaching the class. And again, you know, in any of these cases where we can use technology to have these positive benefits, you know, reducing loneliness and connecting people with their loved ones, it just truly is very meaningful work. And it's just great to really have this chance to highlight, you know, some of these technologies out there.
Yeah, we had the opportunity the other evening. There is, again, a true story of the amazing nature of the Virtual Senior Center. There's a fellow who committed to a group at his good old ripe age that he was going to learn how to play the violin. And he started out, of course, as we all would, scratching and pushing around with the bow on the violin. But over time, with his diligence and the encouragement of other seniors in the Virtual Senior Center, they all tune in to see how Frank is doing with his violin lessons and whether he's learning another song and how he's doing, and giving him encouragement and critique in terms of his learning the violin. What you really see in that, again, as Lauren points out, is the animation and the engagement where seniors would, in this instance, rather watch Frank strangle the violin and continue to make progress and applaud him for his work. So it's a very intimate technology.
And quickly, I would just add, too, you know, another great feature is their ability to take seniors on tours of, you know, the MoMA, the Art Museum in New York, or tours of, you know, the Vatican in Rome, and their ability to kind of, you know, use technology to enable seniors to still continue their learning and that desire for exploration, even in the comfort of their own home. It's really cool, some of the programs and courses that are offered.
Well, very neat. Very, very neat. Well, this has been a truly enlightening hour with all this technology. Now, the best way for people to learn more about this technology, Mike, you would like them to go through you at ChartaCloud, so they can email Mike at chartacloud.com, and that's CHARTA and then cloud, CLOUD.com. So Mike at chartacloud.com. Or they could call you directly at 630
sorry, Lori. Sorry. 603.
Oh,
603, please.
There's my dyslexia coming into play, which I don't have, but I do today. 603-580-5497. That's 603-580-5497. And you know, I hope the phone is ringing off the hooks, because this is great information for people to be able to have and tap into, and very, very exciting stuff. I love the virtual kind of senior center too. I know for a lot of years people kind of poo-pooed the whole virtual connection, but those connections are so strong and you know, so important, and it's nice to see people really recognizing that now. that, these aren't casual conversations. These are really deep friendships that are made, and the appreciation and the support that is given to one another, and the sharing and the learning that happens. It's pretty cool stuff. So kudos to all of you for all of your work in this field. Mike, I'm just going to ask if there's a last comment that you would like to make at all.
Yes, there is, Lori. I just want to return the idea that the work that you're doing and the leadership that you put into what it is you do is just top of the shelf. And, I just want to thank you for making all of your audience aware of these technologies. And if we can be of service, our mission is to improve the quality of life of seniors of whatever stage they're in. But the work you're doing is truly amazing, and we look forward to further discussions and keeping you posted. So Godspeed and keep up the good work, Lori.
Well, great. Thank you. I'm honored just to have my job. I just love being able to talk with people all around the world and at all different levels to see how we can improve lives here. I wanted to ask David if there was any last comments, too, that you wanted to share regarding self-help.
Well, I first want to echo Mike's sentiments in terms of the great work that you're doing and giving us a chance to be able to talk about our services. But fundamentally, when we talk about connection, for people who don't have family members or loved ones nearby, the virtual connection can be the only connection that they can have. And we're just delighted to make it available to people. And it's amazing how transformative it is for their lives. And we would welcome anyone who is interested in learning more about it to reach out to Mike, and we look forward to more and greater connections being made online.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, David. And Tom, I'll just give you another shout out if there's anything else that you want to highlight that maybe, crossed your mind while we were talking about health comms.
Yeah, absolutely. I think probably the one thing that has struck me in all the interactions that we've had with the users of systems, and systems, and I mean like the robotic systems, like David's systems, is, one comes down to one comment, and it really really got to me, was it's expanded my world, right? Mm-hmm. It's gone from the home to wherever they want to go.
Wow, that's a beautiful, beautiful statement. Everybody wants their world expanded and to feel a little bit more connected. So that's very, very neat. And Tommy had to leave us with the Zora Robotics. But again, you can get all your information through Mike at chartacloud.com or give him a jingle at 603-580-5497. And again, I want to thank everyone for joining us. And Lauren, I'm going to let you wrap up and see if you had one last comment too.
Well, thank you, Lori. And I can tell by the show you put together that you are definitely in this to make a positive impact and do meaningful things with your work. And here at Charter Cloud, we feel the exact same way. And if we can use technology to make a positive impact in just one senior's life, that would be amazing. So thank you for letting us showcase some of these incredible solutions from around the world. And thank you, everyone, for calling in. And this was just a really fun day for us. Thank you.
Well, great. Thank you all. I'm going to do just a little wrap up here. I want to give a shout out to a couple of my colleagues here on Alive and Social. I want to shout out to Apples to Apples, which airs Monday at 2:30. Central Time with Scott and Drew Applebaum, who is a father and son team who discusses sports, and you can check out If Father Always Knows Best. Thursday at 4 o'clock, you can listen to Tom Smith, a local mortgage expert, and radio personality BT on a show called Mortgages and BS, and they cover everything from owning a home to refinancing to maintaining it, and they also cover updates in what's going on socially in the world and entertainment. If you haven't listened to our last radio show, you might want to take a listen to our archives. We talked about Don's Alzheimer's World. It's kind of a twist on the dementia village concept, one which is felt to be a little bit more economical and allows families to live together, which is a pretty cool thing. And there's a woman by the name of Joy down in Florida who's kind of spearheading this concept, and she would really like to see it get off the ground. So I think it's got some real merit to it. I've seen her drawings and kind of her budget proposals for this, and she's given a lot of thought to this concept, and it would be neat to have something like that here in the U.S. On Friday, we are going to have Joni Aldrich with us, and she is going to be talking about, what some of the darndest things, I guess, that care partners say to one another. And we're going to talk about some issues that sometimes are a little bit on the tough side. And then on March 1st, we're going to have Ann Tabet with us, and she's going to be talking about delirium. And then we are going to have the creators of the calendar cards with us, too, which is a really neat concept to help people live in their homes a little bit easier and keep them on track. This morning on Dementia Chats, which is our free webinar we do twice a month where our experts actually have dementia, we talked about funding and how the funding in the U.S. makes them feel for Alzheimer's disease and other forms of dementia, and family support, and kind of that living day-to-day versus just strictly a cure. And so it was pretty interesting conversation. If you're going to be in Texas in April, look me up. I'm going to have I've got a couple of events there. I'll be there for half the month doing screenings of His Neighbor Phil. So I'd love to be able to meet and talk with you. And then I just want to tell you about a couple of blog posts. One was on the 20th, and it was called The Versatility Wizard, and it was a poem about dementia. And let's see, what else do I want to shout out to? I want to give a shout out to Caregiver Alert Center. It's a really neat little concept, and I'll be doing a blog post here in the future about it, but it's to help people who may potentially wander off, and we know with dementia and, with elders who are vulnerable, that can just be a huge risk there. And this is a really neat thing that's going to help a lot of families and is quite economical, and I think worth every penny spent. So until next time, have a great week. And again, keep raising awareness. We're making a difference together. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Hi, I'm Lori LeBay, and I wanted to tell you about Alzheimer's Speaks, which is another great podcast. You see, my own mother lived with dementia for 30 years, and I felt lost. Did you know every 3 seconds someone in the world is being diagnosed with dementia? Odds are it's going to hit your families too. We want to help you connect to services, products, tools, research, and stories so you can be prepared. Please subscribe to Alzheimer's Speaks on your favorite podcast platform.